Nanu Nanu, it's time for Must Have Seen TV, the podcast dedicated to the sitcoms of the 20th century from I Love Lucy to News Radio. I'm your TV guide, Barb Hartley, and I'm also a senior reporter for Decider.com when I am in boy drag as Brett White. And say hello to the Egon Spangler to my Ray Stantz, Ethan K. Hello, Ethan.
Don't cross the streams, but I'm glad to be here anyway.
Well, it's this Halloween Gauntlet Part 2. Barb is back.
Barb is back. Barb is looking great. In a throwback to something we talked about several episodes ago.
Multiple times. I am in drag as Miss Florence Henderson from the Paul Lynde Halloween special. So let me see. I am wearing a floor-length black sequin gown. Let me see if I can actually get this. Because I don't know. I mean, can people see the realness?
You can see the sleeves. You can see the sequins.
Amazon.com for I don't know, $60 something. Amazon. Hey, if you know how to work Amazon, you can find all sorts of great drag there, and other things. But also, fuck Jeff Bezos.
Fuck Jeff Bezos. Like the Washington Post, don't like Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
We have talked so much about the Paul Lynde Halloween special that anyone who is probably going to see it is going to be very underwhelmed. But it's kind of, maybe it's a little difficult. You've got Kiss, you've got Billy Barty, you've got witches, you've got the Osmonds, you've got sketches. It's a variety show.
Yeah, Tim Conway, Pinky Tuscadero, Betty White for a hot second.
Betty White for a hot second.
It is a magical special that I truly adore. And every single year, we're always like, Florence Henderson in that gown is like, it always takes our breath away. And so now that I'm a drag queen, I was like, well, for Halloween this year, one of my many looks is going to be Florence Henderson in the old black magic number. The dress is not totally, the gown is not totally accurate because she wears a high neck and long sleeves. And I tried my best, damn it.
I've seen it so many times that I knew that was the difference before you pointed it out.
But I'm also Morticia for Halloween, so this is a great Morticia gown as well. So 2 for 1, baby. Ethan, what have you been watching lately?
I've got to say, Ghost Files.
Wait, what's that? Wait, is that on Discovery Plus or something?
No, it is of all places. It is on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
It is a show that originally was on BuzzFeed, which was also on YouTube, it was called BuzzFeed Unsolved. And then the two hosts, Ryan Bergara and Shane Madej, split off like the Try Guys. They split off and started their own little mini network called Watcher, and they release all of their episodes on YouTube. But they go to haunted locations, they spend the night, and they are two goofballs who are having a good time, trying to scare each other. Very funny. Megan and I watch it every week. It drops every Friday at I think 3:00 Eastern, and then on Wednesday they have a debrief where they talk about the stuff that they found in the episode. So you get like 2 for 1. And it's just fun, and it's kind of kooky and kind of creepy. The last episode was the Jane Hull house in Chicago that was on the University of Illinois campus, and Megan walked by it like every day.
Oh, wow. And it's haunted as fuck.
Haunted as fuck with a devil baby. There was a devil baby. And some entity called Nighttime Dan, which I love the name. Nighttime Dan.
I love that. I mean, I've been watching some horror. I've been watching all of the Omen and Hellraiser franchises. I think I'm done with the Omen. There are 4. I watched 3 of them because Omen 3, of course, Sam Neill. And I have to save that for Sam Neill-Halloween. Is one of the sexiest, best performances of his. But I don't know, the Omen movie is surprising how every one of them has a very handsome man in the lead who dresses very well. Gregory Peck, William
Gregory
Holden.
Peck. Gregory Peck,
very handsome. And also, a demon child, Antichrist.
Of both those series, I have only seen the first movie in each one of those franchises.
Hellraiser is madness, and I watched the first one like a couple years ago, and it was like whatever. And then I watched the second one, and the second one is also like very, I don't know what's going on in this. And I wasn't going to watch any more, but then on Apple, the trailer or like a scene from the third one started playing, and inexplicably it was like a late 80s news reporter lady who was like, I'm just looking for the scoop and stuff like that. And I was like, well, I'm definitely watching this. What the fuck is this? What is April O'Neil doing in Hellraiser?
Over the top goofiness.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see. But I watched the new one, the one that just the reboot, and it was good. It was, I liked it. I liked it pretty fine. The other thing is I'm watching She-Hulk, and I'm now friends with Tatiana Maslany. She has endorsed my drag. She follows me on Instagram now. I interviewed her for work, and since she was so lovely and actually remembered who I was when the interview started, I was like, I guess I can take a risk and show her my She-Hulk drag. And I did, and she lost her mind.
The She-Hulk drag was amazing drag.
Yes.
You did the contouring on the face in green.
Yes.
Which is,
I bought 2 shades of green. When I first started doing drag, I was like, well, when She-Hulk comes out, I obviously have to do it. And then I waited until finale day to do it. So
it worked out great. And that show's been wonderful.
I love it. It might be my favorite Marvel show, actually.
I believe she got married just recently. Yes.
This year, I think.
Mm-hmm. The only reason I knew that there was a BuzzFeed article about like celebrity couples, and I was like, oh, and yeah,
it's like, oh, she's off the market. I'm looking for a wife. I'm homosexual. No. Yeah. So let's jump into the Halloween part 2, Halloween Gauntlet part 2. This week we'll be traveling to October 28th, 1979. 10 ruled the box office. Pop Music by M topped the charts. And ABC aired the Mork and Mindy episode of Morkville Horror. Ethan, you must have seen a Morkville Horror before today.
I wish I had, because it's great. I feel like I haven't had enough Robin Williams in my life. For some reason, when he was big in the 80s and I was listening to a lot of like comedy on cassette, my parents were like, oh, no, you probably won't like Robin Williams. And I honestly, I didn't hear his stand-up until I was well out of college. But I remember episodes of Mork and Mindy. Occasionally they'd come on in syndication.
Yes.
Because the show was canceled before I was aware of television. But I never saw the episode. How many episodes of Mork and Mindy have you seen?
It was on Nick at Night, and so I saw quite a few. I remember I have a lot of memories of watching Mork and Mindy on Nick at Night. My primary exposure to Jonathan Winters is via this show, where he plays their infant son who is hatched out of an egg. So yeah, I grew up loving Mork and Mindy, especially Robin Williams. Just being a baby of the late 80s, early 90s, I'm like Mrs. Doubtfire, Aladdin, Hook, Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest.
I forget. I don't even remember what my first exposure. I guess my first exposure probably would have been Mork and Mindy, but I feel like I was already aware of him in just a general sense. Just being interested in comedy from a young age and reading books on it and cassette tapes, Prairie Home Companion cassette tapes.
Well, and Mork and Mindy is like one of those pop culture shows that, didn't really last long. Like, it had a big hit first season and then just started tanking in the ratings immediately after that. But
that was because they changed the night. They changed the time slot, and that's Kiss of Death.
Yeah. Of Death. The longevity it has, just as being like Nanu Nanu and like they shake hands with the Star Trek thing, right?
Not in this episode, but
but yeah. Orson, come in Orson, like, oh yeah, all that, other sitcoms would still quote Mork and Mindy for all time.
The whole backstory of it was Star Wars had hit in 1977. People were all about Star Wars and sci-fi, so they wanted to bring an alien character into Happy Days, of all things.
So strange, yep.
Also inspired by the Dick Van Dyke episode.
Oh yeah, it may look like a walnut.
Yeah, they would try to steal the thumbs. So Robin Williams as Mork shows up on an episode of Happy Days. Hilarity ensues. The end of the episode, Ron Howard realizes it's all a dream. Goodbye, everybody. But everybody liked Mork so much that they reshot the ending to make Mork seem like he hypnotized everybody into forgetting the episode. And then in syndication, that second ending was what was shown. And he showed up in another episode, and they're like, if this is a huge launch for Robin Williams, we are giving him a own show.
How does he time travel 20 years into the future? Because Happy Days is 50s and this is the 70s. There
was something about that, and they do explain it, because he says he remembers when he went back to the 1950s, it was a simpler time back then.
Okay. At least they acknowledged it. Good on them. The continuity in the Happy Days verse better be tight.
So the first season comes along, huge hit, Robin Williams, big star. Second season, they're like, we should totally change the entire cast except for like 3 or 4 people, and also change the time slot, and also update the theme song to be a disco version of the theme song.
Oh yeah.
And then everything just kind of like it slowed down.
It feels very similar to Third Rock from the Sun. And that makes sense, obviously. But like they're both like these shows about aliens who are over the top. It's not set in New York or San Francisco or like LA, or it's in Boulder, Colorado. And Third Rock from the Sun is like Wisconsin, or it's like Midwest. And so it has the same kind of like broad humor. And then it also has the same like, oh, we kept changing the time slot and the ratings like just went down.
It's poison. That's what happened to Bosom Buddies. The same thing.
Yeah.
First season, great. Like, people will love it if we totally make it inaccessible. And they did, and people did not.
And if we get rid of the drag, the thing that everyone tunes in to watch.
Yeah, it's
Step
just
your queens.
Meddling.
Well, this week on Must Have Seen TV, we're going to be talking about the Mork and Mindy episode of Morkville Horror. It is the 8th episode of season 2, and it was written by Tom Chinowich and Ed Charlak, and directed by Howard Storm. Here's how IMDb describes the episode. When Mindy's childhood home is put up for sale, Mork discovers several of Mindy's deceased relatives still reside there. Ethan, how accurate is that description?
Totally accurate.
Jesus Christ. We'll get to it, but this is a dramatic episode.
This is a ghost. This is a haunted house episode with real ghosts.
Yeah, I was shocked there were no gorillas.
But there's so many times where it's just like, oh, it's the wind, or someone's living here. Yes. This was ghosts.
They do a couple fake outs, and by the time, we'll get there. Yeah, by the time they revealed it's actually ghosts, I was like, oh my God, this is different. We were talking about the theme song. I wrote down like the opening credits just seem to be like the wonder of Robin Williams, because it's just him doing bits.
And Boulder, Colorado, which is great. I've been to Boulder, Colorado like maybe 4 or 5 times in my life, and I gotta say, I love it there. It is nice.
You like that high altitude?
I like the high altitude. I like the fact that everyone eats bison. That you look north, south, east, or west, you're looking at beautiful mountains, beautiful forests. You're just in the center of this beautiful, clean air feeling. I've never been during like when there's snow on the ground, but only during like the summer and the spring. It is a beautiful place, and I'm glad that they shone a little light on it and said, "Hey, Mork and Mindy live here."
And the opening credits last like 90 seconds, I noted. I was like, they are really just going in.
And they walk through the whole Mork leaves his planet. He puts his head on the spaceship. He lands. And then they just kind of like introduce a couple people. I
remembered a lot from the opening credits. I did not know Tom Poston was on this show. He's in the first scene as Mr. Bickley. He's the guy who wants to buy Mindy's old house. I'm assuming probably for just this one episode.
For this one,
he never wants to buy it again.
He's a regular through after the first season. Like in the first season, Mindy was living with her dad and her grandmother, who owned a music.
Oh, yeah,
and then second season, Dad and the grandma are out on tour with the orchestra. They introduce Tom Poston. They introduce Jay Thomas and Jane Hecht as the Da Vinci sisters, a brother and sister. Totally new cast. They add a deli that they hang out in, a new location, no longer the music store. So like first, second season, new cast, new time slot, new. I
wonder why that was. If it was working, why touch it?
It's just they didn't have faith in the material, I guess.
I did love Tom Poston's hat. Go look up that hat. I don't know. He's just dressed like an adult man in the 70s, and we know that when I am not in drag, that is what I prefer to wear. It's old man 70s clothes.
He had a good joke where he walks in, he's looking at the house for the first time, and he says, "Does it have indoor plumbing?" And she says, "Yes, it has indoor plumbing." And he goes, "A smart buyer knows how to ask the hard questions."
I mean, Tom Poston is so good. And this is such a difference from his Newhart character, because he's a kind of an asshole.
Tom Poston, I looked up, he was in almost, I think, every iteration of the Bob Newhart television series.
Yeah, he was the Peeper in the first, in the 70s. And then in Bob, he shows up because they do a couple of episodes that have like Bill Daly and I think Tom Poston in them. And I gotta assume he was on George and Leo, which I haven't seen all of yet.
I don't know.
Gotta see all of George and Leo. One season should have lasted more. So they're in there, they're showing it off. They're like, "Oh yeah, we put up new wallpaper," and Mindy calls for Mork, and Mork walks through the wallpaper because he wallpapered over an open door.
It's a good gag. Give it to him. Didn't realize there was a door there. Mork busts through it. Big applause, by the way. Every time.
Oh God, yeah.
Every time Mork does anything, walks through a door, the audience is just like, huffing nitrous. They're having such a great time.
I mean, it is weird.
I hope they were wearing diapers because they could not control themselves.
It is weird watching like the power of Robin Williams trying to be contained on a soundstage for 20 minutes. Like, because he's such a he burns too brightly for the television camera. I do believe
it's like trying to catch a ferret in your hands is just no.
It's like no, he's movie. He needs to be a big screen. So it is always crazy seeing him on this show. So he does say that he's like, they're like, "Oh, you really want to buy this house?" And Tom Poston's like, yes, I want to buy this house. Apartment living is for like wild young people. And then is it Mork that's like, and houses are for wild old people?
Tom Poston, wild old person,
Yeah.
Give it to him. Yeah, and then Bickley, and I said Bickley is weird about that. Like Bickley reacts oddly to that, which so many things that Mork says are just kind of like glossed over by the other people in the scene because they're jokes and the audience gets the jokes, but the characters are like, we need to keep the scene moving, so I'm just going to assume Robin said something funny and I'm going to say my line.
Yeah, I do wonder how much he improvised. Probably a detrimental amount to the efficiency of taping.
When I die and I get to see like the library of everything that ever existed that we never got to see, there's probably outtakes and outtakes.
Oh God,
that just last forever.
Much Robin Williams material we've never seen. So yeah, they're really excited that Mr. Bickley already wants to buy it, and Mork is like, "Oh, it's one day on the market, and we've already got a sucker. That makes you the sucky." To Mindy, Mindy is the sucky. So that was fun. That
was an odd line. I wrote it down as just being like, "That's an oddly written line," but
yeah,
okay.
It is wild how forthcoming she is with like, "Oh no, my family lives here, my mother died here," and like I feel like that is any death in a house. I feel like as a realtor. You're going to want to sweep that under the rug. You're not. Well, she's so upfront about it.
I was going to mention this earlier about Stamborski versus Ackley in the 1991 lawsuit, where a house had been known as being haunted, and the realtor did not disclose it to the new buyer. So, house being haunted, whatever. The buyer's like, "I want to get out of the deal." The court is like, caveat emptor, let the buyer beware. And it went up to an appeals court. And this was in New York State, 1991. And the appeals court is like, look, ghosts are something that don't show up on an inspection. So you have to, if someone asks, you have to tell them if the house is haunted or not.
That's very Miracle on 34th Street. Like, the court decides we do believe in Santa.
We do believe it. I think it was like, we take no position on spooks or not. But if the house has a reputation, same way if like the house has a reputation, is like, drugs are being sold there.
Yeah, drugs, ghosts,
things that wouldn't necessarily be disclosed in just a walk around. Those things do need to be brought up.
It's wild.
So, real estate, woo.
And and so that's opening scene, which sets the stage. We've got a house with at least one dead person in it, and it's a Halloween episode, so you know where we're going. Now we're back at Mindy's apartment where she lives with a roommate. I don't think they live together. I think they were just friends. A friend. I love the apartment. I like there's like a 1979 like vibe of like like TGI Fridays basically.
A lot of wood. There's a lot of wood. Mork lives in the upper room. There's a ladder, some stairs that go up there that they're featured in the end credits. But no, she says that Jean Da Vinci is coming over for dinner. So Jean doesn't live there. She just lives there with Mork. Jean, played by Gina Hecht. She's done a lot of TV, most recently on that show Dave. She's great. Love her in this. Great actress.
She does say like, oh God, basically it comes up like the only thing I've ever refused is a physical exam from the chief resident where she works. And she's like, the bad news is it was like in his Corvette, I'm still picking fiberglass out of so I'm like, wait a second. So hold on. Like the chief resident where you work put the moves on you in his car, and then either you refused and he shoved you out of the moving vehicle, or you had to dive out of the moving vehicle in order to avoid his advances. What is the story we are being told here?
What was the fiberglass? What is fiberglass? Did cars were they lined in fiberglass in the late 70s? Taking fiberglass out of my clothes. That was a wild little diversion that had nothing to do with anything. I think it was because Mindy was like, oh, do I sell the house? Do I not sell the house? I grew up there. My family's like lived there for generations. My mom died there.
She's buried there, scattered throughout all the rooms. We open a portal to the afterworld on her birthday to commune with her in the living room. I'm going to sell this.
I regularly kill children there. They're still downstairs. There's just so much to get done with the house. Stamborski versus Ackley would not disclose if there were bodies in the basement.
Yeah, I watched Psycho 2 from 1981, and it also has bodies in the basement and stuff. Yeah,
sometimes bodies are in the basement. I read about a church in one of the Scandinavian countries that had like moved all their ossuaries and crypts, and they were doing some renovations, and they forgot to put the bones back, so they opened the closet and they're just these big IKEA bags full of bones.
That's a spooky story.
That's a plug for IKEA.
Wow. Well, speaking of spooks, Mort comes in and he has some good old shock fright hair. He's like, he's been like, spooked because. So yeah, like the house tried to attack him, and there were like bees screaming. The furniture attacked him, and then he heard a voice. It's like, get out of here. And by the time it said here, I was here. Which, knowing what we know, that there are ghosts,
real ghosts.
This house is haunted. What Mork described probably happened.
Yeah, and it's very similar.
The armchair got his hands on him, and the Auto Man attacked and the Auto Woman.
It's improvisation by Robin Williams. It's so good. It's so pure to watch. It's like drinking like Coca-Cola syrup. You're just like, it's not diluted with anything. It's just him. It
is wild to think of like anyone at Robin Williams not being a superstar at any point, because it's like you just see him on this show and it's like, well, he's fully formed. There he is. It's just crazy that we got to take a chance on this. Robin Williams. It's very like Donald Glover on Community. And it's like, okay, he's not going to be here for long. He's definitely going to be going somewhere. Yeah.
It's very similar to the Amityville Horror, a movie that had come out a couple months before this episode, based on a book from 2 years before.
From I want to say Diane Warren, but that is the songwriter.
Ed Warren and
okay, yes.
I have it somewhere. Where is it? I do have a copy of the book, The Amityville Horror, somewhere in this room, and I don't know where it is, so I'm not going to hold it up to the camera. But it's a house in Long Island, Amityville, New York.
Yeah.
Supposed to be pretty haunted. Although I got the inside scoop, I was at a retreat for mediums a couple years ago, and it came up, and two of the people that were there were just like, you know what? We were the first mediums on the scene. They called us in, and they're like, there was nothing there.
Oh, exclusive.
They're like, it was all faked. Like, they're like, the house wasn't haunted. It was just a regular old nice house and then everyone kind of thinks that the people who bought it paid more than they could afford, and they tried to really blow up the case so they could get out of the mortgage, and raise money so they could just try to recoup some of their loss.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about house values in this episode. Tom Poston says that, I bet the original owners paid their $2,000 for this. I'll do you twice that or something. It's like, yeah, that's still
it was
nowhere near enough.
I don't know,
enough money.
$4,000 house. Yes.
So now that the house is apparently haunted, Mindy's like, well, I gotta go see this. And they go to the house, and Mork comes in just wearing everything, every football helmet, cricket stuff, probably hockey pads. He's ready to throw down.
He's got 2 baseball bats, and of course the audience is just cannot believe their eyes that this is happening.
The charm, the hilarity, and the charm of a grown man covered in weird clothing.
When he came in before with his hair all weird, they were just like,
yeah. I got to imagine Mork and Mindy tapings like a rock concert, maybe. It's just guys, okay, there should be a don't applaud sign. Get them to tone it down.
I'll also point out that I saw a boom mic in this shot.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, good for them.
Boom mic fell down. Oh, just to point out, we saw this. I saw this on YouTube. I don't know where you got to see this.
Yeah, sorry, I watched it on YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube's good for this if you want to see this. So, they're walking around and they hear, "Get out of here!"
Yeah, and it's they hope it was it Mork hopes it was a truck, or Mindy hopes it was a truck. I hope it was a truck written down. But so Mork's like, yes, let's talk about this over tea in Wyoming. But and who is it? But it is Exodore. He's vacationing in the closet. And when Exodore showed up, I was like, oh God, yeah, I remember this guy.
Robert Donner as Exeter is Wikipedia. Wikipedia explains who everybody is. So-and-so owns the local delicatessen, and so-and-so is his sister who works at the delicatessen, and Exeter is an insane man.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He looks very Heaven's Gate, that's the vibe of him. Is any of those cults that also ran health food stores in the 70s. That is what Exeter is.
Exeter is he's got kind of a bowl cut that's very greasy. He wears white robes. He literally is just nothing he says makes any sense. He bounces from one idea. He talks to people who are not there. And he was a fan favorite character for this show.
It is such a weird choice. And it's well, our show already has an alien on it. Or we definitely need to have a cult crazy man.
It's revealed
Like,
in
it's
other
just such a
episodes he's the only member of his cult, too.
Oh, good. Well, that's safe.
Yes.
That is a lot safer than
He's not doing
else.
anything to anybody else, but he's vacationing in the closet. We don't know how he got in or how long he's been there, but Exeter is in the closet and just talks like Robin Williams talks a mile a minute.
Yeah. Well, and then is this when he hits? No, that's later. This ends with like the frame spins around the wall, the wind comes in. It's just like the entire house turns into the George Harrison "Got My Mind Set on You" music video.
It's Pee-wee's Playhouse. Pee-wee's Playhouse 5 years before Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Well, and I was like, that's when I realized, like, oh, okay, ghosts are real in this universe, which isn't that it's stretched because aliens are real in this. Like, if one is true, Wolfman could walk into the room, and it's like, yeah, okay.
I'd love to see a show where literally anything supernatural can happen, and people just have to kind of roll with it.
Yeah, that is the vibe of Mork and Mindy. This is when they then are now. Like, did I write down? I wrote down how they gonna get out of this one.
Because there's a commercial break and they go to the delicatessen.
Yeah. Yes, the New York delicatessen in Colorado.
Which made me want deli food so bad.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
It made me want to. I don't find anyone attractive on this show. So that's not, I couldn't go. I couldn't think that further.
Reno Da Vinci?
Who is that?
He was the brother who owns the deli.
Wait, Jay Thomas?
Yeah.
No.
Jay
Thomas, I mean, famously fired from Cheers for insulting Rhea Perlman on the radio. Yeah, because his character was married to her, and he said something along the lines of like, "Yeah, you think that's our trip making out with Rhea Perlman," or something like that. And so they had him viciously killed with like a Zamboni off screen. Yeah, it was very intense. But no, he is there. Jay Thomas is there. Mork is freaking out. And he's trying to calm him down. And then I guess just because they're like, clearly Robin Williams needs to do impressions in every episode. Just be cool like Jack Nicholson. Be cool like Charles Bronson. And he's just doing impressions.
He does his Jack Nicholson impression. Because Jack Nicholson was cool then.
What? Is he not? He's always cool.
I mean, he's always cool. But like, I would never say that like, who's a cool actor? Like, who plays things cool? I'd be like James Dean.
This is where you and I differ.
Like, I'm thinking about like stuff that Jack Nicholson did in 1979. He did.
Oh, I mean, The Shining, very cool.
Shining was later. Shining was in the 80s.
What? Well, yeah, I'm thinking of
One Floor of the Cuckoo's Nest.
Witches of Eastwick. I watched. That's also like late 80s. Yes, yeah. But like that movie, he is so fucking cool in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Well, so what I mostly know from Jack Nicholson in the 70s is like red carpet photos where he's like always like at the Oscars smoking a cigarette with sunglasses and a dope ass tuxedo, like looking really cool. Angelica Houston is his fucking girlfriend, and it's like these two are together. Oh my god! Like, how did we as a culture survive this amount of cool? So yeah, Charles Bronson. Who cares?
Charles Bronson. Death Wish. I remember him. Wasn't he in? No, I'm thinking somebody else. Charles Bronson. I remember him as mostly an art collector. He was friends with Vincent Price, and they collected art together.
Oh, that's fun. Oh, I wish they had a YouTube series.
Wouldn't that be so nice?
Yeah, that'd be so nice. So the friend, the friend who is still picking fiberglass out of her clothes, she's like, okay, so like she is kind of pulling like a Nikki from She-Hulk. She's like, hey, you know what? I checked in the Colorado Legends book. I've got all the intel. Let's get into it. In 1921, your house is called the Lafayette House.
Lafayette.
And Mindy's like, yes, that's my mom's like maiden name. Okay, my great aunts. Oh, lived there. Okay, a guy was mysteriously poisoned because he was like in love with the wrong aunt. Yeah, like there was a jealousy love triangle, and then the aunts holed up there until they died in there. And I'm like, how is Mindy just now hearing this?
These were great aunts. These were not even generations ago.
Yeah, living in the house. You're saying the entire time you grew up in that house, your mother never talked about her aunts, her mother's or father's sisters. I guess it would be
lived there.
her mother's sisters, because it's Lafayette. No, her father's sisters, because they have the same last name.
Fathers,
right? Because they were, yes, okay. Yeah, like, you never, okay, wild.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at and then at some point, Mork takes his pants off.
Oh, because he says like that, like someone says that story is enough to scare the pants off somebody, and Mork's like, "Oh wow, good that he says something," and then the camera pulls out and he walks away and his pants are down. Just, you really hope that was scripted, because otherwise maybe we just caught Robin Williams doing something he shouldn't have been doing.
Children would have loved it.
Yeah.
This is kind of weird, because you're like, oh, children probably like the manic antics of Robin Williams, but also this house is very haunted and will probably terrify children.
Yeah. And I'm sure adults are tuning in for the will they want they between Mindy and the infantile alien.
Well, they don't. I mean, they're kind of together.
Yeah, I mean, they have a kid.
They don't show
Jonathan Winters.
I mean, they don't show penetration or anything. It's just kind of like they're together and have a kid. But
I don't know
like,
where the egg came from. Yeah,
I mean,
why haven't they rebooted Mork and Mindy? Get into that mythology. Give me the prequelers, like Krypton, but with Mork and Mindy.
There's no one who can play a Mork.
No.
Not like, no matter like all the improvisers we know and you know and I know,
character.
No one would be able to play that same kind of energy.
Or it's the Exodore prequel we've all been waiting for. So now they get to the house. Bickley is there. It is raining, Bickley's already. He comes in, then he goes upstairs, and then Mork and Mindy walk in, and Mindy's like, "Quit acting like a child. Get in here and hold my hand." And I thought that was funny.
So Bickley's been in there, and they go in and they walk in, and they say, "Oh, what do ghosts do when there's no one to haunt?" And you hear the toilet flush.
Yeah.
And
Mark says, "That's the last thing I dreamed of."
Yeah, it's like, I didn't think they'd do that or something like that. Which is, well, you know what? I remember hearing that like the first time you heard a toilet flush was on
Psycho, isn't it?
Was on TV though. Was it All in the Family or Married with Children?
Oh, it must have been All in the Family.
It had to be All in the Family, because this predated Married with Children by quite a bit.
But I think the first time you hear a toilet flush on movies might be in Psycho, when she's flushing the money. Isn't she flushing money at some point? I haven't seen. The last time I saw Psycho, Vince Vaughn was in it.
I remember
how that exists. Gus Van Sant's like, I just want to do a shot-for-shot remake. Shot-for-shot remake of Psycho. Please fund this, release it in theaters with a full press like push behind it. Why did that happen?
It's like when you hear like a cover song and it's so close to the original, you're just like, you put no spin on this. Very
strange. So then Mr. Bickley comes back downstairs. He says something very racist about Middle Eastern people. Because they're like, we don't want to tell you this. And he's like, oh, you're going to tell me you got a better offer from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, okay, cool, moving on.
It must have been a thing that was happening at the time.
Yeah.
I can't think of any reason why he would say something like that.
Yeah, we're good. And then I did think that when all the sheets fly off of all the furniture, it's really well done. Like they all just like whip right off. And again, it's like, these ghosts aren't fucking around.
The ghosts are here. This house is haunted. And the way that they show the ghosts is all through the comic genius of Robin Williams talking to himself.
He's Lucinda and Deirdre, and and they are just going back and forth. One is more meek and mousy. The other one literally says, "I'll show you how to make that tea that makes them cough up the pancreas." Like, Christ.
Good line.
Who poisoned him, obviously.
And then who walks in? But the oddest character to ever walk in, Exodore again.
Oh my God. Who is odder, Jim Ignatowski from Taxi or Exodore?
Exodore.
Exodore couldn't hold a job. Exodore is not driving a taxi.
I have a note here when we first meet him. Exodore is vacationing. Sub bullet is insane.
Oh, he's coming back now. Is this when he comes back and he's wearing like swim trunks over his robe? Because he's like, still.
He's wearing like an old school striped bathing costume.
Oh, yes.
They would call
one
it.
of those.
And Mindy looks at him and goes, "Oh, thank God, somebody normal."
Which, I mean, I guess comparatively, she's there's an alien possessed by her two great aunts there. They're arguing back and forth, and then they both end up hitting on Exodore, right? And
Exodore is into it.
Yeah, which, hey, their whole like reason for being ghosts and all that was love triangle gone wrong. So, and now they're just getting into another one.
And it had but then he says my favorite line because they're like, he's like, "Oh, come with me," and he says, "Come with me, we'll frolic in tidal pools and let hermit crabs have their way with us." And I was like, and the ghosts are like, "Oh yes, Mr. Exeter." So they leave, and they kind of like have a little bit of like a little one-on-one with Exeter, and he goes, "Well, this vacation isn't a total loss. I met two chicks."
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really fun way of just kind of like describing how you met two ghosts.
Yeah.
I like
because I mean, Mork doesn't go with him, so I guess they're are they not possessing Exodore? Who knows what's getting inside him? Yeah, then the girls, the ladies leave, and then Mork says, "It's not easy having body guests." Is that my Rodney?
Oh, here we go. Yeah. I might have just done Rodney Dangerfield or Jack.
Yeah, that's it.
So we get a touching scene after this.
Then Mork feels the presence, a gentle spirit. And this is where the episode, I thought it was off the rails. And then it was like, actually, no, we were smooth sailing before this one. Now it's like, it takes a sharp turn into going for Oscar level, like drama. Like all of a sudden, Mindy's dead mom is possessing her and is possessing Mork, and then trying to have Mork like tell her like it's okay to let things go. Like
this so analogy weird. About a teddy bear.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I guess to me, I didn't think they earned it enough with the whole like, "Oh, I don't want to sell the house. Should I sell the house?" In the beginning, she's pretty clear she's going to sell the house. She kind of add a little bit of dithering back and forth, but like, I never got the impression that she wasn't going to sell the house.
No, yeah, I mean, she kept talking about like memories, etc., feelings, nothing. She kept doing that. But yeah, there was no. But also, let's not forget that Exodore just said, "I just met two chicks." 10 seconds before Mork turns into Mindy's mother and starts trying to like give her psychological advice. There's nothing wrong giving up things that we've outgrown. Also the fact that I do like Mindy is like immediately like on board with like, "Oh my God, Mork is literally my mother now." Like, but what all that she's seen so far, I don't know. Why would you doubt it?
There were ghosts, literally ghosts. The things came off the chairs.
Yeah.
The pictures spun around, like boards on the windows were like came up, like it was a whole thing.
Very wild. Wait, how does that entire plot end? I mean, I just wrote the rocking chair rocking solo. Oh, they leave and then the rocking chair is going solo, not with a guitar doing a solo. The rocking chair putting the guitar up to the seat back, and
the rocking chair has left Cream and formed Derek and the Dominoes with Ginger Baker. Yeah.
Yes. Ethan, have you ever sat on sequins before?
No, I haven't.
I haven't before now.
Yeah. I got to say, maybe I've sat on a pillow that has sequins on it.
No, but I keep feeling like I'm rubbing. Well, I mean, the sequins are falling off, but there's like thousands, so I think I'm fine. Anyway, that's fun for people watching the video.
Woo. Brett just held up an actual sequin.
Yeah. And so the episode ends just like Third Rock from the Sun always ended, with them contacting like the big giant head or whatnot. He's contacting Orson. Mork calling Orson. Come in, Orson.
Mork calling Orson. Mork calling Orson.
Yeah. Oh, and he's wearing his uniform, his red and silver uniform,
and a football helmet.
Mm-hmm.
And then he recaps the entire plot in a poem, and that's that.
The only thing I liked about the poem was that he rhymed poem and home. I like that. That was funny. But otherwise, I'm like, what? Yeah. Okay.
That's what did you learn about the world this time? I recap the plot to you, and then end credits
in limerick form, and go surreal, and let's go. And I mean, yeah, that's it. It's a. Were you scared?
I was a little perturbed. I'm like, okay, so it's a real ghost. What's this mean? I don't like ghosts. I've said this before on the Abbott and Costello episode.
No, I want to.
I don't like ghosts.
I want to spend the night in a haunted place.
Ooh.
That's I would. Which was scarier, this or Bewitched, Twitch or Treat?
This one. Oh, this one.
Yeah, this definitely, because there was an actual. The fact that they were like, no, ghosts are real, and we ain't pulling any punches. Although I guess ghosts were real in the Abbott and Costello episode too. That was a real gorilla.
Yeah. That was a real gorilla. That was a real ghost lady who had the veil in front of her face. Yeah, there were ghosts. So far, two real ghosts and one real witch.
It's every Christmas, I'm always like, I want to do a list of all of these sitcoms where canonically Santa Claus exists. Like on Home Improvement, Santa Claus is an actual being that exists on Home Improvement.
You said the same thing about Bewitched. Is that
yes,
Santa
Bewitched
character?
Yes, and he's a recurring character. Every Christmas episode, Sam's always taking people up to the North Pole, or he's coming down and just hanging out.
Is it the same actor?
No, that's the other. It sucks. It's a different actor every time. They weren't really into that continuity last time. Are you ready for some must-have facts about this episode? Oh my god! So, the ratings for this episode were 24.8 million human beings, which is a lot of fucking people watching Mork and Mindy, especially in season 2 when the ratings were down. So
yeah,
that's weird. It was the 6th highest rated show of the week, though. The top 6 were Mork and Mindy. Then number 5 was Dallas. 4 was MASH. 3 was 60 Minutes. 2 was Three's Company. And the number 1 show of the week was a airing of Jaws. Which makes sense. I mean, Halloween, like you got a scary shark movie coming.
I guess we're kind of used to Jaws being a summer movie.
Yeah.
Rather than a fall movie.
Yeah, and all of
Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Oh my! No, we're not getting into this. No,
Die Hard is
movies that's set at Christmas.
But Jaws is a summer movie where
it's It's like horror is not dependent on a time of year in the way that Christmas is 100% dependent on not only a time of year but thematic elements. Anyway, I promise myself to not get into that argument anymore because it doesn't matter. The ABC Thursday night lineup, the night that this aired, the Halloween that almost wasn't aired, which I had not seen.
I'm going to take a quick look if that's the one that I think it is.
And then after that was Mork and Mindy, and then the sitcom The Associates, and then a big movie called Disaster on the Coastliner.
Oh. I remember the Halloween that almost wasn't was also called The Night Dracula Saved the World, and it stars Judd Hirsch as Dracula.
That is perfect.
Yep.
That is the best.
And Henry Gibson, I believe, as Igor. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Voices, right?
Just like Judd Hirsch.
It's animated, isn't it? Or
no, it's a live action thing. And I know
Judd Hirsch wearing a Dracula cape?
Yeah, Riff Tracks did it.
Okay, I need to see this.
Yeah, it's that's why I remembered. I'm like, is this the one with Judd Hirsch? Yes, it's the one with Judd Hirsch.
We can watch it. We can make it a double feature with Paula and Helen special.
Oh, that's gonna be so good.
Yeah. So what are you watching tonight? It is Archie Bunker's Place is airing on CBS. Mork and Mindy's on ABC, and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is playing on NBC.
Oh,
now remember, if you love One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, you got to be home and watch it right now. Otherwise, you screwed until it airs again.
Exactly.
You don't know VHS is coming.
I don't know if I saw it in the theater or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I did. If I did, I'd be watching Mork and Mindy. If I didn't, I'd be watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, I would not be watching Archie Bunker's Place. That's like the Golden Palace of All in the Family.
That's the one where he owns a bar, right?
I think so. I don't know. What are we doing here? Now, what's weird is that 104 IMDb aficionados gave this a 6.5 out of 10.
That's low.
I think that I don't know if that's like compared to the overwhelming genius of other Mork and Mindy episodes, but I would give this at least a 7.2.
Maybe this is just my old school Robin Williams bias, but if you say it's an old school Robin Williams Mork and Mindy episode, I'm not giving it anything less than a 7.5.
Okay, yeah, because hey, they are going for it.
Yeah, he's great. Like he is just
great.
Everything he does is just like you want to watch him. You want him to talk more.
I wonder if he was fun to write for because you knew that no matter what you did, he was going to make it funny, or horrible to write for because you knew no matter what you did, he was just going to make it funny. Like the writers are not.
Yeah.
Just do whatever you want, Robin. I don't know.
You're going to have actors that are like, I want to stick to the script. And you have Mork, Robin Williams. I said Mork. Robin Williams is like, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
You're going to have to still react with your lines.
Which, I mean, on I Dream of Jeannie, that was always a problem. Because Bill Daly and Larry Hagman would improvise. But Hayden Mork was always kept up right with them. Barbara Eden was a little bit harder because she was very much like, I thought we were doing the script. And then Bill Daly and Larry Hagman are coming up with their own bits. Oh, please, someone reach out to me about my book. They were fine.
Barb is dressed like Florence Henderson. People, talk to Barb.
Come on. Look, she can sell a book. I'm just saying I'm an extrovert. So PR, hello. Who had the must-see performance of this episode?
It's going to be Robin Williams, although there's a point where you're like, the craft is so good that I just love Robin Williams doing this, but I really wanted to see more Exeter because he was just so weird.
Yeah. Did they ever try to give him a spinoff?
Oh, that'll fall into the same problem as the Paul Lynde show, where you can't make an entire meal out of spices.
You can't just eat a whole bunch of cumin and tamarind. I don't know anything about spice.
Tonight's dinner is salt.
I mean, if I wasn't gonna pick Robin Williams, I'd probably pick Tom Poston just because I like Tom Poston. So I'll pick Robin Williams.
Totally fair. I don't know if it's the must see.
Robin Williams is good.
He was good. Everyone was good.
Must other people see this episode? I think for a Halloween episode, there's real ghosts. So like you're looking for silly spooky, this is going to give that. So,
and I like that it wasn't about problems trick-or-treating or something goofy happening on Halloween night. It was just a haunted house episode.
And aired in October near Halloween. If you have a spooky episode and it airs in February and it isn't explicitly on Halloween, it ain't a Halloween episode, people. Stop telling me to talk about the Boy Meets World slasher episode that aired in February.
It's not a Halloween episode.
Not a Halloween episode.
There's two things that make it a Halloween episode. One, it's about Halloween. So I'm guessing like if someone's like, we're doing a Halloween episode of this show, and due to scheduling errors, it has to air in April. It's still a Halloween episode.
Yes.
Or if it's a scary episode that airs around Halloween,
which is why the Abbott and Costello episode, I did not, because it aired in February. If it had aired in October, to me, that's a Halloween episode, but it didn't, so it isn't.
But here's the weird thing about that Abbott and Costello episode. They aired it in the different order that they shot it in. So even though it was like the 18th episode, and there goes my light again. Even though it was the 18th episode of the series, it was the first one that aired.
Which is wild.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
But I think like if you want a Halloween episode, there are probably better Mork and Mindy episodes to watch. I mean, he doesn't even say Nanu Nanu. He says like Nanu at one point, and that's it. So I mean, like, you want a Nanu Nanu episode? Come on.
This is not it.
Yeah. If he doesn't say Nanu Nanu, I'm
fuck the show, man.
This is done.
Done.
And yeah, I mean, that is it for Mr. Mork and Miss Mindy. Hi y'all.
Hi, Barb.
Hi, I mean, I got Discovery Plus, which means that I just watch shows right now that are about baking things that have fake blood in them.
Oh,
Yeah, it's good.
We've been watching Dairy Girls, season 3. That's been really good.
Let me tell you something. I'm a dairy girl. Milk goes straight to my thighs. What the? I don't know. That's the kind of comedy and humor you get from Barb Hartley. Ethan, where can people find you on the intranet if they want to talk about Halloween?
Oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Find me on Instagram at EthanK55. Did we get any comments or anything?
I didn't. Let me see. I didn't check the internets. Let me see if there's any emails. Open it up. Now then, people, you can leave emails at Must Have Seen TV. You can also leave comments on the YouTube because, hey, this is on YouTube. You could have been watching this whole thing. And I'm looking at no. So I'm just like really I'm just scrolling through the Twitter feed, and you guys can also tweet at us on Twitter at Must Have Seen TV, and also follow on Instagram at Must Have Seen TV, which I also don't really post on the Instagram. Listen, there's a lot going on just at all times, and the fact that we got a YouTube channel that should be enough.
We've got all the episodes from this current season up on the YouTubes where you can see both of us. If you are not watching us on YouTube, Barb is wearing a wonderful black sequin dress with a Florence Henderson blonde wig, black dangly earrings, and you can see that. But she's wearing really nice. Are they like a blonde color heels?
They're gold. They're gold glitter.
They're gold glitter. Yeah. I am wearing a hoodie and an Aquabats t-shirt because this is how I like to dress.
That's your drag.
It's my comfort clothes.
I mean, this is not comfortable that I like dressing like this, but it is not an everyday thing.
Not for everyone.
Although some weekends it is 2 days in a row. But let's hear from all of y'all. You can read words that I write at decider.com, including a lot of She-Hulk content. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Brett White, or you can follow my drag persona, Barb Hardley, on Instagram at Barb Hardley. And thanks to Acast for hosting the podcast. And thanks to everybody for listening, and for those of y'all watching. And I'll see y'all next time on Must Have Seen TV. Keep give me some booze. Is that a sign off?
Nanu.